Tonight on The Roast, an asylum seeker boat reaches the Australian shore while the federal government launches Australia's first official space policy. Stay tuned for the coalition's cheaper, crappier space policy. The people of Geraldton, Western Australia were surprised yesterday by the arrival of 66 asylum seekers appearing just off the coast on an overcrowded fishing boat. It appears they snuck in by convincing customs they were part of a Deutsche Bank team-building exercise. Regardless, the shock arrival has caused fear in the small coastal town.
I mean, if they'd gotten in so easily, they could have been terrorists. Like, I'm not trying to start rumours or anything.
Too late! You know, I heard Al-Qaeda's setting up shop in Geraldton. But she didn't stop there.
But I mean, they could have been 70 trained forces sort of thing and had the town taken over in an hour.
They're saying we lost Geraldton. Yeah, you can tell him. And with the fall of Geraldton, it'll only be a matter of days before other towns of strategic significance, like nearby Beresford, will fall. Then these terrorists armed with clothes will walk across central Australia and take Sydney in just 37 days. For more on the local impact, we cross now to Rachel Corbett, who's live in Geraldton. Rach, how have the residents reacted?
The response has been mixed, Tom. On the one hand, a boatload of strangers rocks up unannounced, and on the other hand, these 66 new arrivals are a huge boost in Geraldton's tourism numbers.
Still, it must have come as quite a shock to the town.
Oh, Tom, you can't imagine.
I got a call from a friend who was just sitting on the beach eating a sandwich and literally dropped a sandwich when she realised what was happening right in front of her.
That lady was so shocked she dropped a sandwich.
What kind of sandwich was it?
That's not the point, Tom. The point is it's so shocking that woman lost her fine motor skills.
Oh, come on, it's not that shocking. Unless it was a focaccia, because those things are expensive. But over 4,500 asylum seekers have already arrived in Australia this year.
Well, I'm sorry, Tom, but that's just how the Geraldtonians react to terrorist threats. This town is still covered in crumbs from 9/11.
Right, thanks, Rach. That was some wonderful analysis. But beyond the horrific loss of lunch, there's also been a corporate impact, since the Deutsche Bank branded boat had been a gift to the Sri Lankan fishermen following the 2004 Boxing Day tsunami. Mark Humphries joins us now from Deutsche Bank's Australian office in Sydney. Mark, what's the reaction been like down there?
Jubilation, Tom. Many have tried, but at the end of the day, it was Deutsche Bank that took line honours.
Line honours? That they're not embarrassed to be associated with this Border Patrol blunder?
Most asylum boats sink, Tom. Deutsche Bank are thrilled. Front page of the Australian. That's a few grand's worth of free advertising right there. Now everyone will know that Deutsche Bank equals safety. Invest with Deutsche Bank, Tom. They'll keep your business afloat.
But isn't Deutsche Bank annoyed that a boat donated to help Sri Lankan fishermen was actually used to transport asylum seekers?
Yes, they're not wild about it. Seems it's a case of give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll off to Geraldton. But if Deutsche Bank can make it from Sri Lanka to Geraldton in just 44 days, just imagine what it could do in the Sydney to Hobart. If Australia's Border Patrol is anything to go by, Wild Oats 11 will never see it coming.
Well, that's actually unlikely, Mark. Asylum boats are generally taken back to sea and burnt for quarantine reasons.
It's a bank, Tom. There's plenty more where that came from.
Good point. But despite making it to Australian soil, Geraldton was not their desired location.
The asylum seekers were later seen holding a sign asking for help to get to New Zealand.
And Seaton K. Smith is currently in the land of the long white cloud. Seaton, what the hell? We weren't good enough? Why were these asylum seekers heading to New Zealand?
Well, it could have something to do with the way we tend to put asylum seekers in some sort of prison or camp or other country.
Right, and they were confident the New Zealand government would accept them.
Well, with the last 6 hours of The Hobbit yet to be released, they'd be happy to have the extras. Peter Jackson loves non-unionised actors almost as much as he loves losing weight, then putting it back on. It's a real boon for our film industry.
You mean the New Zealand film industry?
No, Tom, I'm an Australian citizen. It's our God-given right to claim successful New Zealanders as our own. Russell Crowe, Phar Lap, the NRL.
So you think all an asylum seeker needs to do to get into Australia is move to New Zealand and then become successful?
Tom, may I draw your attention to Split Ends? They spent 6 months in a leaky boat, and they've called Australia home ever since. Ask not what Australia can do for you, Tom. Ask what you can do for New Zealand, which Australia can then take credit for.
All right. Thank you, Seaton. Turning to our second story, and 44 years after man landed on the moon, our government's finally announced its own official space policy. Junior Innovation Minister Kate Lundy made the announcement whilst showcasing 14 Australian space research projects funded by a $40 million federal government investment. So with $40 million in a country of just 23 million people, that's That's a rocket in every home.
But if you are hoping for rockets and space probes,
I sure am.
you will be disappointed.
But helmet. Oh, well, that's okay. So long as Aussies finally get to go into space.
No Aussies in space anytime soon.
God damn it! What the hell kind of space policy is this?
It's called the Australian Space Utilisation Policy. The key word there is utilisation.
No, that's the worst word in there. Kids don't grow up dreaming of one day becoming a utiliser. It turns out the only launch we're ever going to do under Australia's space policy is launching Australia's space policy. Instead of going into space, our plan gives priority to Earth observations from space. So basically, we're developing technology so that the country can take a better selfie. Technology like the Australian Plasma Thruster, an admittedly cool-sounding engine that can use almost anything as fuel, like oxygen, nitrogen, and even human waste. Could there be a more fitting metaphor for Australia's space policy than a poo-powered rocket that's literally full of shit? We cross now to Nick Richardson, who's been in training in our new Australian space program.
Oh, sorry, Tom. I'm just in the middle of G-Force training. You have no idea what this feels like.
I think I've got a pretty good idea, but beyond swivel chairs, what other training have you done?
Oh, gosh, what haven't we done? I feel like we've learned so much. We did anti-gravity.
Oh, wow, that does sound exciting. What did it involve?
Oh, I'll do it right now, Tom. Oh, it's that amazing sensation of weightlessness. You have no idea what this feels like.
Really? That's it?
No. After you've got a feel for this, you can move on to more complex tasks like using tools. It's pretty hard, but that's why they don't let just anyone into the Australian space program.
I thought the program was about developing satellite technology here on Earth. Are you learning how to use any specific tools for that task?
Well, it's mainly just pencils and paper clips right now, but if all goes well, I might have my pen license as early as Friday. Oh, hang on, Tom. I gotta run. I'm booked into the anti-gravity chamber to get my flying hours up.
Oh, I didn't realise we had one of those.
Yeah, fire it up. What? You have no idea what this feels like, Tom. Oh, shit! I lost cabin pressure.
Well, Nick Richardson there, our very own Challenger space shuttle. But while we here in Australia have launched a $40 million program to play with poo, the United States has put us to shame by announcing a $100 million program to lasso an asteroid. For details on that, we cross now to Clark Richards, who joins us live from NASA's headquarters in Houston.
Not in Houston, Tom. I'm orbiting above Houston.
Above? Wait, are you in space? Why are you wearing a monkey mask?
Oh, the monkey thing. Remember in February when Iran sent a monkey to space?
Yeah.
Well, that was me. See, ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to be an astronaut, but Australia didn't have a space program. So I moved to sunny Tehran.
Oh, God.
I trained hard in monkey space school, Tom. I showed aptitude in piloting shuttles, and I flung slightly less poo than the other candidates. So they said, "Good job, Bishkern. You're the monkey for the job." Then I got sent up here and fulfilled my dream. But I'm done now. There's only so many times you can look down at the Earth and marvel at the insignificance of man. So tell Australia to send a shuttle up and bring me back home.
Well, yeah, Australia has announced a space policy, but...
See, I told Evgeny Australia was a real country.
Who's Evgeny?
He's my cosmonaut mate over at the International Space Station. Hey, Evgeny! Suck it!
No, but Clark, Kate Lundy said there'll be no Aussies in space anytime soon.
What? You mean no one's coming? Oh my God, I'm all alone. I'm running out of fuel, and I just burnt my bridges with Evgeny.
What? I guess you could always poo in the fuel tank.
I'm not Animal Tom.
So, there we have it. In the 5 days since Julia Gillard left the country, we've had 66 asylum seekers reach our shores, a space program launched that won't go to space, and an Australian national in an Iranian space station refusing to poo in a fuel tank. I'm not suggesting the Prime Minister's some sort of mystical elf queen who keeps this country running, but good night.